But we can't take a chance after having done this incredible thing last night of letting somebody else take over, where we have to do it again. We can do it again, too. Nobody can stop us. There's nobody that has the capability that we have. You know, when I watch that war in Russia going on and on and on and everybody dying, and it's like, it's primitive. It's primitive. It's horrible. It's really horrible.
Could you tell us, Mr. President?
Oof, man, that word primitive. Oh shit, dude. He called Vladimir Putin primitive. I mean, when you have videos surfacing of fucking infantry using fucking horses and donkeys, and you know, a bunch of Russians, like I think it's over 1 million Russians dead right now, almost 4 years in, and compared to the deaths of Russians and Ukrainians, it's like over tenfold with the Russians, because they still do those primitive Stalin tactics. Oh god, that's painful, dude. That is fucking painful. You know, you gotta remember this. When the war when the war happened in Ukraine, they called it a 3-day special military operation. 3 days. They say it would take 3 days to take the capital and replace Zelensky. It's been almost 4 years. Almost 4 years. 1 million Russians left when it happened. You know, the more wealthier moved because they didn't want to be drafted. And then another million, well, over 1 million, I think it's like almost 1.5 million Russians are dead or crippled beyond where they can't work or do anything. And you have all this. And then you have what Trump did with Venezuela, with Maduro. You have him take him and his wife. And now there's going to be a new government installed that's going to be more pro-US. Now, is it going to be like with what Russia's doing? Because I see certain Russian people or certain propagandists and traitors trying to say that this is justification of what's going on with Ukraine. But there's a difference. Ukraine fought back. Ukraine didn't want to be part of Russia. Venezuela did not want Maduro in power. He rigged elections all the time. What you see, there's a difference. None of the people fought back in Venezuela. You didn't see the people try to stop the military. They didn't. They just stand by. It was basically what was going to happen to Putin with Prigozhin. The same fucking shit. Where Putin was about to get, ousted and he was going to take over. Prigozhin would have been actually the person leading Russia. Now, of course, he would have been far worse. He's more of a xenophobe and, he wants to actually go and take more land than like Putin does. But it just showed you how dictators, there's a major problem with dictators. Once the head, once you do a decapitation on a dictator, all of that power goes away. All that authority goes away. And the people didn't want it. People wanted something better. So this means that instead of giving the money to Russia and China, it would be going to the US and Europe. This will boost the economy. This will make people be free. You see people in Venezuela doing live streams, cheering by the thousands. And people within America cheering. You have people in New York celebrating, knowing that the country is free now from the dictator. A lot of people hated them. Now, one thing is, it's kind of funny. Since it's happened, will Trump go for Cuba? Will he go for Colombia? Well, and you can say, why would he want to go for those? The fact is, all of Latin America, it's corrupt shitholes. That's just a fact. It's not like what you see with Ukraine and Russia. Totally different. Because when Ukraine was trying to be their own nation, tried to join NATO, well, they wouldn't join NATO if Ukraine didn't invade it. They would have been like with Finland and Sweden, where they didn't join. It's just been a neutral state. But because they're worried about Russia, now they want to join NATO. Their sphere of influence, they want to be more like Europe. And what is Europe known for? Being safer, being more happier, being more prosperous. And you can say, well, the diversity, the degeneracy. And you think, and I say this, if you look at Russia, they have a much higher Muslim population. They have a much more corruption, drugs, abortion rates. Everything about Russia is just corrupt. Everything about it is just a corrupt nation. Same thing with China. The difference is they try to hide it. They try to pretend what they're dealing with is not real. And we just see the difference. We see the difference between like Russia and the U.S. With the U.S., it took them 3 hours to capture Maduro and his wife, and everyone stand down. Not a single soldier was killed. If it's any casualties, it's far less compared to Ukraine. It just showed you how primitive, like Trump said, which is correct. It's primitive. It's fucking primitive. You could have taken Ukraine, but you're so incompetent. Russia is incompetent. You have a country where the majority of the male population, not just the male, but females, majority of the population have fetal alcohol syndrome. Their IQ is at sub-mental retardation levels. Their culture, it's not like the Western cultures where they have individuality. They have a culture of fear and not standing out. They're basically trying to act like Asians, except they're not compatible with it. You know, they're trying to be like, oh, everyone's the same. The problem is it doesn't work with the European diaspora. Whereas like, it works more for the Asian diaspora because they look more alike. They have more homogenous faces compared to like Europeans, where we have different shapes of faces, eye color. You know, you can say, well, that's talking about like genetics wise, how that makes with culture. It does. And with Russia, we could easily do this to Russia, by the way. We could do this to Russia. We can easily do an operation, capture Putin, and this is what many people are calling for. Calling for grabbing Putin and arresting him, because that would be a good idea. People don't like Russia. All of Europe despises Russia. And with Trump basically insulting Putin, this could destroy their relationship and make a new way of, how put it? It will make it where people will understand within the more right wing, because it's funny because you see all these people who are left wing and right wing. The communists are pissed off because a communist dictator has been taken over the tankies. They're saying, oh, death to America, I hate America. And it's like, you support Ukraine. Do you understand what Ukraine stands for? Do you understand what they want? No. They want democracy. They don't want communism. Sorry, there's a difference. And they're more white nationalists, by the way. Just to let people know, people say they're Nazis. They're not Nazis. This is nationalists. They believe in their country should be free. And yes, that means because the people of Ukrainians are white, that means you could say they're a type of white nationalists. Now, does that mean they're Nazis? No. But Russians use wordplay to try to justify their war crimes. And you see the far right, I see a mixed bag with the far right. You either see them being like the communists, trying to say, this is stupid, this is disgusting, Trump is pro-Israel. No, absolutely no proof, by the way. The only thing you got is with that, the female person that got exiled, that she's going to probably be the president of Venezuela. Like, she's kind of pro-Israel. But that's about it. Outside of that, there's no real reason to see this as a pro-Israel move. And you see the other ones trying to change on a whim, trying to say, yes, this is based, like Nick Fuentes, oh, USA, America first. And it's like, look what happened. So this pisses off the right people, and that's good. Now, people like me and others, we didn't want this to happen because at the end of the day, this was eventually going to happen, but we thought the government was going to collapse to where we have to do something about it. That was the difference. And people was worried about it was going to be like the Middle East, where it's going to be, oh, it's just going to be a 30-year war, 20-year war, 10-year war, thousands of veterans, a bunch of displaced people, a bunch of Venezuelans become radicalized because they feel like they're being attacked personally. But it wasn't strategic, it was a tactical, so it was cleanest you can. It's one of the most cleanest operations I have ever seen. Ever. You know, people putting memes out like showing that this is how you do a special military operation with that one Simpsons meme. Because it's so true. It's like, this wasn't a war, this was literally a special military operation. Because the only thing they did was just capture Maduro and his wife. And it shows you how dictators are, having a dictatorship, it's bad because of this shit. Because the government has pretty much fallen to trying to save face and trying to say, oh, we're going to try to retaliate against America, which that's not going to happen. The dictator's gone. The majority of the population did not like Maduro. They wanted someone else. They're happy that this happened. But even with like the Russians, you know, the ones that are trying to cope and say that this is great, you also have them bitching about, oh shit, the oil prices are going to go up. Oh shit, why is it, you know, the question of why did Putin took almost 4 years, but America took 3 hours? Like, this has got to be the few rare Trump W's. Now, this is just on his order. That's the thing. But people don't know, Joe Biden would have done it too. Joe Biden, come on. This is a unilateral support from both Democrats and Republicans. This is a few things that the neocons and neolibs can agree this was actually a good thing. And most normal people would agree. People are just worried about Middle East, where the culture, you know, that's also another thing. The culture is different between the Middle East and Latin America. Where Latin America is mostly Catholic, the Middle East is mostly Muslim. And they have different, you know, cultural perspectives. That means you have, like, they're more likely to be radical. So they see it as a holy war against the West. That's how they've seen it. With the Latin American countries, you will see more willing support of the U.S. over, you know, with the Middle East. With the Middle East, you couldn't really do much about it. You know, that's why they call it the quagmire. You know, the Middle East is a quagmire. Where with Latin America, you are just more likely to get a successful regime change. And let's face it, they're going to be better off with this. Now, Trump has said that he's going to try to run the country for now, to where he's going to hold on to it until they get a proper election, to where there's people who get what they wanted to vote for. And possibly more, you know, it's going to be more pro-US, but, you know, it gets rid of all the influence from Russia, China, Iran. It's a major loss with Russia. It's just a major loss, especially with Russia and China. Some say more for China, and some say it could be a W for Russia, which I think the rare W got is just say, well, this justifies our war. It doesn't matter. It's been 4 years. Millions are dead. You might as well just fucking invade another country. But the thing is, do the people want it? Do people want to join your side? Ukraine didn't want to. Venezuela, the people, wanted to. That's the difference. That's all I have to say. See ya.